Україно, рідна земля мати, Господь, Отець наш Небесний, благословіть.
Благословить! В смысле, сейчас не потушить, оно так?
Crimea is an invulnerable military base the size of an entire peninsula. Or is it really? Did Putin manage to turn Crimea into a fortress, as he strongly attempted to do? Well, shortly. Airports, hyped air defense systems, ships, and even the infamous Crimean Bridge. All of this is now under fire.
It's our legitimate target, according to the Geneva Conventions, current legislation, customs and traditions of warfare, and other norms of international laws. Quite a legitimate target.
We explain why the battle for Crimea is one of the main confrontations in the war in Ukraine. Crimea is a paradise-like resort peninsula in the Black Sea. Well, it used to be. In 2014, Russia occupied it and turned it into an enormous military base. With each passing year, the militarization of Crimea increased. The number of personnel and equipment has multiplied several times. The missile systems on the peninsula pose a threat to the entire region. For instance, the Bastion system is capable of striking any targets within a 600 kilometers range. Moreover, in Crimea, Russians deployed potential nuclear weapons carriers, such as the Kalibr and Iskander systems. In total, in 2023, journalists have identified 223 military facilities in Crimea. Ukraine needed to dislodge enemy military forces from Crimea, a region recognized by the international community as Ukrainian territory under occupation. However, achieving this was not easy. Here are ordinary winter days in Crimea. A military airfield where Su-24 bombers and Su-30 fighters are stationed is under attack. A radar station, an ammunition depot, and a command post responsible for coordinating air defense across the entire peninsula are on fire. British intelligence subsequently reported Ukrainian forces have been conducting a continued offensive campaign against Russian military facilities in occupied Crimea and have successfully struck several targets on the peninsula. A large landing ship of the Russian fleet, Novocherkassk, explodes. And this is what remains of it. In other words, nothing. These are just a few episodes from the battle for Crimea. The peninsula is a strategically important territory for the Russians, serving as a logistical hub, military deployment site, and the routes through which equipment and personnel move to the newly occupied territories. Therefore, it is not surprising that Ukrainians actively target enemy objects in Crimea and its vicinity, despite Russia's expectations being the opposite. Their plan for a full-scale invasion envisioned the rapid destruction of the Ukrainian Navy, with Crimea becoming a landing base for the capture of Odessa and Mykolaiv. However, Ukrainians managed to disperse their limited naval forces. In early spring 2022, they attempted to attack the enemy fleet with domestically developed Neptune missiles, which alarmed the Russians. But what definitively drove them away from Ukrainian shores happened on April 13, 2022. The Neptune struck and sank the flagship of the Russian fleet, the Moskva. This marked the first time a cruiser-class ship had been sunk in 40 years. Nevertheless, Crimea remained an enemy's base, and daily convoys of equipment, fuel, and soldiers passed through the Crimean Bridge coming from Russia. Until suddenly, boom! An explosion of a truck loaded with 21 tons of hexagen in TNT equivalent. This was not the last attack on the strategically important artery. On July 17, 2023, the Ukrainian military leadership did not get a good night's sleep. That night, they watched live as maritime drones of Security Service of Ukraine approached the Crimean Bridge, and it exploded once again.
From a military point of view, this is a disruption of a supply chain. When we first hit it last year, it took them more than 8 months to restore it. At that time, they were transporting all the munitions, military equipment and weapons by pontoon ferry. The bridge was not fully functional. Now, after the last attack, it is still being repaired.
This attack was one of the main results of the Ukrainian idea that fundamentally changed the tactics of naval battles. Within a few months, the security service of Ukraine significantly improved its drones. Now each drone was equipped with 3 communication systems. The explosive payload was increased to 850 kilograms of TNT, and the drone's body was now made of radar-invisible material. This project was named Sea Baby. It was these drones that detonated the Crimean Bridge in July 2023. But even before that, Sea Baby had executed the first ever massive attack by naval drones. At that time, they targeted the main base of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, striking 4 military vessels, including the Admiral Makarov frigate. SBU designed and manufactured drones continued to tally up its list of targets. In essence, today Sea Baby transformed from a kamikaze drone to a modular platform capable of carrying various types of weaponry. This is far from the only maritime drone Ukrainians have. The 5.5-meter Magura from the main intelligence directorate successfully targeted the Russian patrol ship Sergei Kotov. A new modification of the Mamai drone manufactured by the SBU is the fastest vessel in the Black Sea, capable of reaching speeds up to 110 km per hour. With 450 kilograms of explosives, it managed to inflict significant damage on the large landing ship Olenegorski Gornyak and the Russian Ministry of Defense tanker SIG. All these attacks compelled the Russians to move most of their fleet away from Crimea. However, they kept returning, as only Sevastopol had the infrastructure for reloading ships carrying Kalibr missiles, and only Crimean shipyards were capable of repairing large vessels. It was precisely in these moments that Ukrainians caught the enemy and even managed to destroy the Rostov-on-Don submarine valued at $300 million while it was in the docks. The further it goes, the more losses Russia suffers in Crimea. Some losses are particularly crucial. Powerful explosions at the Russian airbase, 7 planes destroyed, 3 damaged. The Russian Patriot destroyed, an S-400 missile system worth $1.2 billion.
It was an explosion that eliminated an exemplary unit of Russian air defense systems, and what they wanted to sell abroad at a high price. I think now there will be much fewer buyers for such not very effective things that, however, burn well.
Within a few weeks, one more S-400 complex was destroyed by Security Service of Ukraine. Within a week, another strike, a missile attack on the headquarters of the entire Russian fleet. According to Ukrainian intelligence, dozens of enemy officers were eliminated. Strikes on the fleet and missile systems in Crimea allowed Ukrainians to independently restore the grain corridor that the Russians had tried to close. Starting August 2023, approximately 15 million tons of goods were transported through it.
There will be many surprises later. We are talking not only about the Crimean Bridge.
The Russians attempted to hinder the export of Ukrainian grain and to initiate an extensive missile terror. Additionally, Russian bombers drop anti-ship mines with special sensors into the shallowest parts of the sea, which explode when a ship passes over them. However, Ukrainian air defense systems started catching the enemy in the act. On the southern front alone, 3 Su-34 bombers were destroyed in a single day on December 22, 2023. Since 2014, the Russians have been transforming the once resort peninsula into a military base. After the full-scale invasion, Ukrainians began clearing military objects from out there. And they will keep on doing so until Crimea becomes peaceful, happy, and Ukrainian once again.